Guys, I feel so privileged this week to be coming to you live from London, England. Now, if you know me and if you listen to my podcast, you'll know that this is the city where my travel interest sparked. I was 19 years old, knew nothing about the world, and London really opened my eyes to how big the world is and how vast our experience can be, and how through our many human differences, we have so many things that connect us. This is the city where it all started. Now, I'm coming to you live from the Shangri-La Hotel at the Shard, one of the nicest hotels you're going to find here. And I got to tell you guys, I work in hospitality, I book meetings and events. I can't think of a better partner than Shangri-La Hotels. They are truly like a family. I work for Starwood Hotels and Resorts, and I often said the same about Starwood, that it felt like one big family. And there's something about the Shangri-La teams that I find equally compelling. They have a family vibe to them. They take excellent care of clients. In fact, I've told the story several times this week. There have been times where my clients have selected Shangri-La Hotels among many worthy competitors simply because of the relationship and how they treat their partners. They're excellent hotel partners. So if you have the chance to stay or work with the Shangri-La Hotel, highly recommend it. Now, this episode was actually recorded last week from Paris. If you're watching on video, you'll see the Eiffel Tower in the background from the Shangri-La in Paris as well. And it was an episode I recorded with a very good buddy of mine from my youth. His name is Marc Larue. Marc lives in Paris, and Marc has made a career in solar energy, and that has taken him around the world. In fact, he's traveled to 61 countries. So he talks a bit about his experiences on the road and what it takes to be a good traveler. So without further ado, here's this week's episode of Unhospitality with Marc Larue.
Unhospitality, the #1 podcast in the world.
Guys, welcome back to another episode of Unhospitality. We're here at the beautiful Shangri-La in Paris. What gave it away that we were in Paris? And I'm here with my good buddy, a friend of mine from childhood, Marc Larue. Marc, welcome to Unhospitality.
Thanks for having me.
So Marc is not a typical interview guest here on Unhospitality because he's not a hospitality vet. But what he is a world traveler. Marc's an American in Paris. He's been living here for the last 7 years, yeah?
Oh, yeah, this is my 7th year now.
7 years. And part of his work over the last 7 years being based in Paris has taken him to some fantastic destinations. I think you're on 51 countries by now that you
61, yeah.
61 countries around the world. And I've traveled quite a bit, and Marc has actually traveled to more countries than I have. I tip my hat, sir. Well done.
Well, it's quite a list, but each one comes by surprise, I suppose.
Yeah.
You don't plan all of them. Sometimes you end up there.
Tell me more about it. What was it about your travels that took you, or what was about your job, I should say, that took you to travel to these destinations?
Yeah, it's a great place to begin. So I was working in the solar energy industry for a French company in the US, based in Paris, but they have branches all over the world. And I was working for 4 years for this company in the US, and we were building solar farms out in the middle of nowhere, essentially, that you drive by on a highway and you look over and you see a solar farm that could be a small village, and this is what we're building. So
Amazing.
a lot of the places I was going in the US were in Texas, Arizona, Nevada, California, just open land, and fly into a city, get the rental car, and head out to the site, and we were building these. I had the opportunity to move to Paris because they wanted to closen the relation between the US team and the French team. So the headquarters here, and they're overseeing all the operations from Paris. And the relationship wasn't going so well between the US team and the French team. And they said, all right, let's try to bring someone from the US team to strengthen the relationship. And that was me. I was raising my hand with energy, and had this offer.
But you hadn't been to Paris before. You took this job sight unseen, essentially.
That's right. I was actually shooting to leave the U.S. through a Latin country. I wanted to continue my Spanish speaking adventure.
Okay.
And I spoke zero French upon arrival. One thing led to another, and this opportunity presented itself. And I hadn't visited ever before. I'd only been to Europe twice before, or
Wow.
3 times before, and never to Paris. And I spoke to a few people, and everyone said, you could just go, you're going to love it. So
But I suppose if you're going to make an international jump, Paris is not a hard spot to have to select, but it's still a pretty bold move. I one of the themes I always come back to on hospitality, or as I think about my career, is that sometimes you're not going to have all of the pieces put together. You're not going to have the end essentially all figured out, but you just have to make some bold steps and bold moves. I think that's true when you're picking your career path, and especially when you're able to expose yourself to a whole new way of lifestyle, make yourself a little uncomfortable in being in a situation that is going to stretch you. I think that's a great way to travel, and it's a great way to approach your career as well. What do you think about that?
I completely agree.
How has Paris kind of, or the opportunity here, how has it brought you along into a place of growth, or what have you learned while you've been here?
I think Paris is after 6 7 years. It's completely changed my life in terms of worldview, how I approach my career, how I approach friendships. At the moment when I decided to come here, I was feeling it's time to make a change, and I wanted to try something different than the U.S. And I was primarily based in Boston and Rhode Island throughout my childhood, and then university and the career was always in New England, with traveling to other parts of the country. But I wanted to make the jump, and it was difficult. I mean, I was a bit nervous, especially not having ever visited, and I said, "Okay, let's take the jump." And yeah, you once you make that jump, you step fully into the roller coaster and see where it takes you.
As an American in Paris, Parisians in particular, the French people in general, I think, have a reputation for not welcoming tourists, perhaps as warmly as other destinations. What has been your personal experience among the Parisians, and have they welcomed you? Have you found that you've had to adapt in order to fit in, or have they accepted you kind of as you come along, or a mix of both?
Definitely a mix of both, and that's one of the points where I was a bit hesitant. I'd heard this reputation about Parisians responding specifically to Americans in this way, and once I arrived, I quickly found out it's not the case.
Nice,
Um, my team was extremely international. We were 100 people in our renewable branch, and 30 different countries were represented. Average age was 35, so everyone got along quite well. And the French team specifically made us feel welcome. And I found that Parisians, if when you come here, if you respond to them or introduce yourself in a nice, friendly manner, they're going to be friendly back. As soon as you come and expect that you're the guest, you're the tourist, you should be treated a certain way, they're going to be rude back to you. So it's a bit of you take what you give, and and in terms of outside of work, French integration. I played ice hockey my whole life, so I've found a club here, and I was expecting it to be once a week pickup kind of style at best, and found out that actually there's a national men's championship for the leisure division. And once I get to know these guys, they saw I could play a little bit. They quickly took me in,
nice,
so that skill set helped gain a lot of French friends right away.
sure.
Um, and then the other French friends I made throughout the journey here has been a bit of the same. If you show that you're open minded and you're interested in their culture, they're gonna respond in almost the same ways.
So don't just come expecting them to bend around you, but plug in ways that you have shown up in the world previously. Plug in and find a network of people who can respond in a similar way and try and make inroads and friends that way.
Yeah, it definitely helps to have some common interest, and then the other people that you maybe don't have a common interest with, which I've made plenty of friends in that regard. Um, the French are very well traveled. Paris, you can get to every continent with a direct flight. They have the great train systems. So the French people really love to travel,
Sure.
and they like to learn about other cultures. And if you show a little bit of interest, they're happy to see that and respond accordingly. Adjusting to French life, there is some things that you definitely need to adjust to.
Tell me.
Um, for example, let's say you're on the metro. If you go on any metro in the U.S., there aren't many, you've got Boston, New York, Chicago,
Unfortunately.
San Francisco,
Yeah.
some other smaller lines, but people are quite loud, quite rude, quite obnoxious on the metros in the US. And here, you get on the metro and everyone's quite well behaved. They're staying to their own small conversations. Most people aren't talking on FaceTime. They're not listening to loud music. The children are extremely well behaved. They're not playing with toys all over the place or screaming. They're sitting there either reading a book or talking amongst themselves with their parents and their other friends. And
Sure.
this is something that Americans need to adjust to a little bit.
We could learn a few things.
Yeah, it's a little bit different culture in terms of manners. They're very polite people here, and there's some small guidelines that you have to pick up along the way to adjust and assimilate a little bit.
Amazing. I'm getting the feeling, Mark, you haven't regretted your move here. Fundamentally, what's the one thing that you could point to say this entire experience has changed me? How would you say this bold leap to Paris has made you a different person?
Well, as I arrived October 2019 and March 2020, COVID hit. So I was here for about 6 months, um, loving the experience. And all of a sudden, the world stopped. The city shut down. We had a quite strict confinement here. You couldn't go outside of a 1 kilometer radius from your house. So I was here alone, no prior friends or family in the city. Um, Maybe I had met one Brazilian friend from work who was based in Paris. I'd met her in Chicago. She was the only person I knew in Paris prior to moving here. So when COVID happened, I was all alone for 2, 3 months on lockdown, and that experience was very significant. I started to read a lot more than I typically did. I was very invested in my personal well-being. So I had this kind of reset in my resets. It was
Nice.
a outer reset and then this inner reset that happened because of the pandemic. So that was two different life changes that happened within the first 6 months of arrival here.
Yeah.
And from there, it really helped me develop as a person. And I continued with the reading, continued with the personal growth, and that that changed me a lot, honestly.
Would you say the lack of comfort or the discomfort in the entire situation helped stretch you into a place of growth? Is that a fair way to sum that up?
It did, and then also the friendships that I had made in those 6 months before the confinement happened, almost all the French people went outside of Paris. They went to their family houses in the countryside in the south, and the expats stayed. So we formed a close-knit community. They became family quite quick.
Sure.
Um, we spent all the holidays together. We couldn't fly, most of us, for the next year or so because if you left, you couldn't get back in.
Yeah.
So we were spending Christmas, Easter together. I was hosting Thanksgiving
Nice.
at my house for 7 different non-American expats.
Exporting American holidays here.
Yeah, so these two experiences really developed me and helped me grow and create solid friendships that I have through today. I went to one of the girls' weddings that hosted Christmas the first year.
Amazing.
She's pregnant now, so
Beautiful.
it was a life-changing experience for sure.
Mark, we talked about the fact that you're not a hospitality vet, but you travel so much. From an outsider's perspective, I think we get a lot of things right in hospitality. We get a lot of things wrong. From an outsider's perspective, if you could run a hotel for a week, what would be the first thing you change right off the bat to make things easier for the guests?
First thing off the bat, the check-in.
Okay, tell me more.
Sometimes, sometimes you can't change whether rooms are available or not. If you arrive an hour early, the check-in, and they say it's not till 2, there's definitely one room that's available and the hotel's not at capacity. Let us check in a little bit outside of the first
The
check-in
strict
time.
guidelines, yeah.
And then also on the back end too. Sometimes the lobbies are closed at midnight, and it's a bit difficult to get somebody down if you're flying in for work and you have to drive 2, 3 hours. You don't get there till 3 a.m. And then you gotta wait for somebody who's in the back to come. If there was some sort of lockbox system for late check-in and you can just get your key and go to the room, that would be very convenient rather than having to wait to go through this process.
I like that.
And I mean, you're tired when you arrive. The person's probably watching a movie at some point in the back, and it's not a top level hotel, and they're not so happy that you have to check in at this hour. So you could streamline it for both sides, I think.
I like that. Um, Tell me about an experience you've had at a hotel or in your travels. Could be with the airline or could be at a hotel. Disastrous to the point where it's so funny you tell the story over and over again. It might have even been worth the disaster just to have the story to tell after it.
All right. Um, yeah, there's been a fair share of those.
I can imagine 61 countries under your belt. You probably have many of these stories.
The one that sticks out that was quite disastrous in terms of my financial, it would have hit my wallet.
Okay.
I was flying to Hawaii for the first time to visit a friend who was in the Marines, and I had the flight from Boston to Portland, Oregon. A friend of mine from college, he just got a job for Nike out there as a designer. Super excited to have his first guest. So we go out. I land at 10 p.m. or so. We go out, walk around Portland. He's excited to show me the bars and everything. Had one too many drinks. Didn't get to bed till 3, 4 or so. My next flight to Hawaii from Portland was at 8 a.m., I believe.
Okay.
So I tried to get there for 6:30, 7.
Few hours of sleep and on your way.
I woke up. My buddy's in the living room. He says, "Mark, it's 10 a.m."
Oh no.
So I didn't just miss the flight by a little bit. It was completely taken off.
Yeah.
I arrive at the airports and it's Alaska Airlines. So I go to the counter. I'm very honest with the front desk lady. I said, I missed my flight. My friend arrived, just moved to Portland. He showed me the town, and my flight took off 2 hours ago. I wasn't going to lie. She could see I had a long night.
Yeah.
She's looking at me. She said, yeah, you didn't have the insurance on the flight, so you're going to have to pay another $400 or $500 to get to Hawaii. 23 at the time, 24, $400 or $500.
Not swimming in
Yeah,
cash.
it was gonna hurt the trip a little bit.
Sure.
She Luckily, I approached her very honestly, and
With kindness.
with kindness. She took a minute and she said, "How about this? I can get you there for free, but you got to go to Anchorage as Alaska Airlines." So if you're looking at the map, I take out the phone. It's about equidistant to Hawaii
Of
from
course.
Portland.
Yeah, you doubled your trip.
And I said, all right, let's do it. 6-hour flight to Anchorage. Fell asleep, arrived, got off the plane, had an amazing bison burger. If you ever fly into Anchorage, it's beautiful. The city's right on the water there. The mountains are behind. And I spent about 2-3 hours in the airport, had a great meal, got on the plane, went to Hawaii, and it ended up
The rest is history.
yeah, it was a disaster for me when I approached it, and then it became completely great story to look back on.
Amazing. I'm hearing something in that story though. You're approaching with kindness. We had talked before the podcast, and we talked a little bit about kindness. Expand on that a little bit, and how, if you could give one piece of advice to a traveler, sum up in a couple of sentences how you tell travelers to be better travelers.
Yeah, so not everyone grows up traveling around, and maybe you take a weekend trip here and there as a kid, but you're not really exposed to it till you start going out on your own. And the first thing that you need to learn is that you need to be kind to people, and you're not the superstar. You're not Mariah Carey going into this hotel or airport. The people you're dealing with are people first, and then they're employees. And if you treat them with kindness, you're going to get it back tenfold. If you go to the flight attendant, say hello, how's your day going as you're boarding the plane? If there's an upgrade that they can sneak someone through, chances are they're going to come to the people that said hi to them. And so this pays dividends at hotels, at restaurants, at airports, on the streets, when you get on the metro, on a bus. Say hello to people.
Yeah.
Just ask them how they're doing, and they're quite excited that you're treating them like a human and not just someone who's working.
I'm a firm believer. I worked as a waiter when I was a kid. I'm a firm believer that everyone should work at least 6 months as a waiter, if not a waiter, somewhere in the service industry,
Exactly.
just to be on the receiving end of a guest who was an asshole, who
Exactly.
you had to be like, okay, whenever I'm in that situation, I never want to be that person talking to someone in the tone of
Exactly.
voice or that way that with me. So
Same thing happened to me. Summer job as a server at Cello's on the waterfront in East Greenwich, and
shout out to Rhode Island, by the way. We're both Rhode Island boys, so shout out to little Rhodey.
yes, and this experience as a server at a nicer restaurant where you have boats coming in to dock, or there's the marina, so they're coming off their nice boats. Then you have people driving, and so you have two types of customers: the boat life and the regular customers. And some of the boat life people are a bit rude.
Sure.
And when you feel that as a server, it's not nice. I mean, you're just a person doing a job, and when people treat you like you're less than they are, it's not great, and you kind of give it back to them in one way or another.
Yeah.
And
I'm not sure if I want to ask the follow-up question to that one of how you got it back to them.
I mean, whether it's with the same tone or not, but
Fair
people
enough.
who are kind to you, you're gonna give them better service.
Sure.
So I learned that at 20 years old, and it stuck with me.
Nice.
Sure.
Mark, we're going to wrap up the conversation in a few minutes. I wanted you've told me some stories about some precarious situations that your travels have put you in. You can pick one of the many we've talked about, but give me something that, this wild world of travel where you found yourself in a situation where you were like, not quite sure if you're going to make it out of it, or just made you a little bit uncomfortable and you had to use your wits to make your way through.
All right. Which one? There's been a bunch. Let's go with this Guatemala to Belize ferry that I took.
Okay.
So I had been to Guatemala the month before, actually, for a week holiday. And while I was there, I said, this country's amazing. I'd love to come back. And I had applied for a work trip that was giving solar lights to people in the jungle who didn't have electricity off grid.
Wow.
So I won a trip back a month later. So I was super excited. And this part of, I was on the western part for the first trip. This one took me more towards the jungle on the east. And I said, okay, there's a ferry that goes from Guatemala to Belize. So I take the bus out there, I get the last ferry. And when I walked up to the ferry station with just a backpack, they looked at me extremely funny. And they said, what are you doing here? And I said, I'm trying to go to Belize. They turned around, the guy at the desk, and he looks at his manager, who's wearing a nice suit and a nice watch, very not typical for this part of Guatemala. And the guy nods. So I said, okay, I'm in. I have the ticket. Go to the boat, and it's just a long speedboat.
Okay.
The ferry was an hour. I get on the boat, and it's just covered in cardboard boxes and black duffel bags.
Okay.
And the whole front of it is just this, me, the force crew, and the two guys wearing suits and Rolexes.
And you started to put the two and two together.
Yeah, so I realized I was in an interesting situation.
Yeah.
We take off. We start. The boat's about 4 inches from sinking.
Yeah.
We're getting water splashed in. Within 1 minute, they say, all right, turn around. We get back. They just start throwing off bags, boxes and duffel bags indiscriminately, just lightning weight.
Yeah.
We go back. We get to Belize. The customs guy is very surprised to see me. He just looks up, looks at my passport, lets me go through. I have the last bus out of the port to the next city that I need to get to another boat that would take me to the beach community village. And there's this one guy staring at me. So I'm starting to feel a little uncomfortable.
Sure.
And as soon as we get off, he knew that there was no other ferry to get to where I was trying to go. The part that the bus took us to was a local community. And he approached me and he said, you're stuck. You don't have the next boat to get to the beach town. I said, yeah. How did you know? He's like, I live here, and don't worry, my son's coming to pick me up with our boat. I said, okay. This is another situation number 2 with the boat that I'm not super comfortable with.
Uh-huh.
Well, his friend from childhood approached him, and he has a gun in his waist, and he starts talking about things that I probably shouldn't have heard, and I'm at this point extremely worried.
Yeah.
And I see the boat approaching, and it's the guy's son. He's about 14 years old,
Holy smokes.
and I said, "I'm gonna take this boat with this guy who's nice to me versus stay with this guy with the gun."
Yeah.
I got on the boat. We get to the beach town, and everything was fine. But that was definitely one where I was a bit worried.
Precarious.
Sorry,
Yeah.
mom. But yeah, I mean, this guy talking about hospitality, he was extremely hospitable. He saw a situation that wasn't normal for this part of Belize,
Yeah.
and he helped me out.
Nice.
So, I mean,
Nice.
it's hospitality comes in many ways, whether it's at a hotel or airport or restaurant, or people who are just
Extending a hand.
living in the place that you're visiting.
Yeah.
They're gonna be hospitable to you as well, and I think that really makes the experience. And it's not just one specific pillar of hospitality when you're traveling; it's the whole experience. Is if it's hospitable, you're gonna enjoy the experience, and if it's a bit tough from the community as a whole, you'll think twice before going back.
Sure. Sure. Cultural hospitality, perhaps, is a good way to put that. We'll wrap up with this question, Mark. I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about your Latin American project in Puerto Rico. You're with a long vision. You just got your MBA. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Long vision for developing something in Puerto Rico that will not only be a personal project that brings you a lot, that you have a lot of passion for, but also a way to give back to a community that you feel has given a lot to you. Talk a little bit about what you have in mind and what you're trying to get the gears in motion for.
Absolutely. So Puerto Rico means a lot to both of us. I
Yeah.
think we started bonding as we got to know each other. I mean, we've known each other since we were kids, and then as I started traveling more, Puerto Rico came up, and that was a touch point for us.
Sure.
So I went to university in Boston, and I was playing hockey there. All my hockey roommates moved out for a semester for co-op outside the city. The athletic director said, "Hey, we're going to move some Puerto Rican volleyball players into your on-campus suite." I said, "Okay, cool." They didn't speak much English. They'd never seen snow, but they were amazing at volleyball. We quickly became friends. I was helping them order Chinese food on the phone, showing them around Boston, how to dress proper. And they said, "Okay, we want to take you to Puerto Rico for spring break." So I went down with another great friend of mine. They brought two of us, and I fell in love with the island. I was eating the grandmother's home cooking soup with all the seafood and the
Nice.
spices, and
Nice.
not staying at the hotels in Condado or anything. I was staying at the houses, and
Getting a true local experience in PR.
exactly
Yeah.
going to the bars that they knew, taking the day trips with their cars out into the jungle. And I went back every year until I moved to Paris. And at one point was supposed to move there for work, and then the hurricane happened, which was really tough for the island. But without this initial experience of these Puerto Ricans showing me their community and their culture, I probably wouldn't be here. They really opened up my mind to travel,
That's amazing.
and it led me to the next. I wanted to see the next country and the next culture and this, and keep learning different languages. Spanish was the first one I was wanting to learn, and then here French. So during the confinement, the second confinement for COVID, I found a small island, a French island to escape to, called Reunion Island in the Indian Ocean.
Mhm.
I booked a flight for 10 days, and Macron announced that Paris is going to stay shut for another 2 months. So I talked to my manager at the time, who was also a Puerto Rican guy who I've known since I arrived here. He's one of my great best friends here. I called him. I said, "Hey, you think I can stay at this island and just work from here instead of my flat in Paris in January, February, March? It's raining, cold." He said, "Mark, stay.
Nice.
As long as the confinement's there, just stay."
Yeah.
So the Airbnb I was at, I asked them if I could extend. The family was amazing. They said, "You can stay as long as you want. We're not getting any more tourists there's no more planes coming.
Sure.
So you can stay as long as you want."
Amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah.
They're bringing me fruit in the morning. They have a
Perfect.
garden, inviting me to their Friday afternoon family gathering. So it became a French reunion family that welcomed me.
Nice.
And I was working and then traveling on the weekends. And I said, the only thing I'm missing here is ice hockey. And it really was the one thing that I was genuinely missing about this experience. I said, I love the beach. I love this culture. Where can I replicate an ice hockey rink that would be viable? And Puerto Rico was the first one that came up. And there's no ice hockey rinks on the island right now, but they do have a national team that was incorporated the same exact year that I was coming up with this idea in
Interesting.
2021.
Okay.
They play out of the U.S. and I said, okay, well, this is something I could give back to an island that gave me so much in life, and also share a sport that means a lot to me. That's brought me all over the U.S., North America, and now Europe. Some of my best friends in my life through hockey, teammates, and I said, okay, I want to give something back to the island and also bring tourists to the island for this specific sport, but not just for hockey, but show them that Puerto Rico has a lot more to offer than what you see on maybe a 5-minute YouTube video. So the concept is to have the ice hockey rink, and also one of my friends who's a national volleyball player is getting ready to retire. He wants to have a volleyball academy. So there's going to be a training facility for volleyball, an ice hockey rink, a gym, bar, restaurants, pool, beach volleyball courts, and the concept is to have hockey grow on the island. His volleyball academy, he wants to install a men's and women's professional team at the arena so we can drop the floor, some 2,000 seats in there, and he can run the rest of his volleyball dream, and I can also have my ice
Amazing.
hockey adventure. So
That's an awesome project, Mark. I wish you the best with it.
thank you.
Mark, I want to thank you for coming on the show. As a small town Rhode Island boy like me, our families were close as we were growing up. Most of our family is still close, still in Rhode Island, and we've kind of bonded over the fact that we have gone out and seen a little bit of the world. I admire you a lot for the bold choices you've made in your life. I want to thank you again for sharing your stories and how travel has changed you. Many similar ways it's changed me. I wish you the best with the project in Puerto Rico. Guys, thanks for tuning in to Unhospitality from beautiful Paris, gay Paris. Thank you for joining us on this Unhospitality episode. We are the #1 podcast in the world. Until the next time we talk again, safe travels.
Thanks, Jeremy.